nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First great podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Hello and welcome to the Managing Madrid podcast. It is August 28th, and this episode is long overdue. It was postponed 1 week, and then it was postponed a day, and then people were like, "Where's Leah? Where's Leah? What happened? What's going on?" Pressure was on me. I was like, it's coming, guys. Don't worry. I was starting to sweat. Like, Leah just came back from Saudi. I was worried that, she's no longer in the price range for us to be able to afford to bring her on the podcast. She's doing all these big things, but she's here. Leah made it. Welcome to the show, Leah. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Sorry about that. I didn't realize yesterday when I said, hey, can we push this, that it would actually impact several people and not just me. So my bad. I just want to say before we dive in, that's the first time I've seen that intro, because I think the last time we did this, you didn't have that. And I was like, okay, damn. All of these announcers that are name dropping. I see you.
Yeah, look, thank you. This is just my goal is, like, every time I bring on a recurring guest, like, you just move it up one notch just so that they can kind of see that we're going somewhere. I don't know. It's baby steps, I guess. I guess I should introduce you. I just sometimes assume that everybody knows who you are at this point. You've made multiple appearances on the podcast. So maybe just in case, if people who are not familiar with your streams and maybe they're new to this podcast, they haven't seen you before. Leah Revelle, creator, presenter, and esports commentator. Most importantly, a Madridista. Yeah, and we've had a lot of great conversations in the past about Real Madrid and FIFA, which is now called EA, which I actually wanted to start there, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I need to get your thoughts on this. This is very important. So Just look on the screen.
Okay.
What is our opinion about this? This is the EA ranking. I'm assuming this is the EA. This is official, right? You would know better than me. I saw this today on the internet. EA 25 rankings.
So nothing is official yet, but I've seen also lots of things. Like, I don't think all the clubs will do like an official announcement of the ratings, but I have seen these also. And I just have to say, listen, this might like start a whole rabbit hole of conversation, but this like Rodri is a good DM. Yes, I get it. But this like Rodri hype train is it's insane. It's insane. And like I get it. Like I can give appreciation where appreciation is due. You know what I mean? But 91, what do you mean what do you mean the same as Mbappe and Haaland? What do you What do you mean more than there's a lot of these things. I posted something the other day about the ratings where I was like, some of these just don't make sense. But I mean, Haaland and Mbappe, yeah, 91, fine. Vinny, I think that like if we're doing it based on season, which is what happens every season, they kind of fluctuate based on their season. Like I think I saw something that Courtois' potential rating went down by 1 from last year because he was injured. But then Alaba's rating didn't move. Like, it just stayed. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Like, I don't think Haaland had the season he had the year before. When his debut season, they won the Champions League, whatever. But Vinny had an insane season despite being injured, like, half of it. Well, a quarter of it. But, yeah, there's some that I'm like, yeah, okay. Like Rudiger got like a +3, apparently, allegedly. But
see, that makes sense.
That makes sense, right? Yeah. And like even Rodrigo like goes up by 1 measly rating every single year. And I think what is he? He's 86. He's allegedly 86 now, which he's a walkout. So that's good. At least we're in walkout territory. Carvajal, allegedly, apparently, according to what I've seen online. And genuinely, I have no idea yet. I don't know.
I
know
just love that you have like inside sources on EA. Like that's just so cool.
I wish I could give you guys more information on the ratings, but I know just as much as you. I don't have that kind of, I'm not privy to that kind of information yet, but I've seen a lot on Twitter, and it seems like Carvajal he was, I think, 85, and then last year he went all the way down to 82, and then now apparently he's back up to 86. So he got a +4, which deserved. And again, Rodri 91. If we're comparing the season of Rodri and Carvajal, like, I digress. Scored the game winner in the Champions League final. Won the Euros.
And was incredible all year. Like not
Insane.
even just those two things. Yeah.
Insane.
Just in case, I mean, I just realized that maybe there are people who are not watching the screen or they're listening to this on a commute. So the ranking goes like this: Rodri number 1 at 91, Mbappe number 2 at 91. I guess that's one tied joint first. It's and Haaland at 91. So those three are all ranked together at 91. But I don't know, maybe them putting Rodri as number 1, it's their way of just trolling us, you know, even though they're all ranked at 91. Let's put Rodri number 1 here. I don't even know who made this list. I don't know. Whoever did it was an anti-Madridista for sure. Vinny, just behind all three of those guys with a rating of 90. And then Harry Kane, 5th at 90. And then we can go, I have the 6 to 10 too. You can chime in on this as well. Can you see this on the screen? Not yet. Hold on.
No, I can see the other one.
And then we got, hold on here. So this is the one. This is 6 to 10. KDB, Jude Bellingham, VVD, Ter Stegen. I don't know how that works. So you got to explain that one to me. I don't know how that works. Like what? Like I'm assuming like, so to get the overall rating, you have all these different dials, right? Like speed, shooting, passing, tackling, etc. So all of Ter Stegen's dials just accumulate to 89.
I guess so. And then it also depends on, I think, like injury, performance throughout the year. We're not sure because every year there's some that are like De Bruyne, for example. Yeah, okay, he's Kevin De Bruyne, but he was injured far more than most players, far more than Vinny. Vinny did get an upgrade. De Bruyne, allegedly, if this is correct, went down by 1. Last year was 91. But he's been at 91 for like 4 or 5 years or something like that. So this to be the same, and then Harry, and then I don't know. The only theory that I have for Ter Stegen being 89 still is Barcelona are not just paying referees.
Okay, I love this. I love where this is going.
But no, I don't know. I literally have, because Barcelona are in the trenches, so who knows where that's from. I think it's just also names. You know what I mean? Ter Stegen is like Ter Stegen. He's been Ter Stegen. He'll probably start for Germany now, I would say, after Neuer.
Well, he must. He must.
Yeah. Or Leno.
Well,
let's hope.
I assume that, like, who do you think would have the biggest jump? I wonder like how much Lunin would jump after the season he had, after being like basically a non-relevant player, to all of a sudden stepping in with Courtois' injury. He's got to have a big jump, right?
Yeah, I would say he might. I think last year he was silver, so maybe this year he'll at least be gold. I think the lowest rated gold, 75. I think is the lowest rated gold you can be. Non-rare, rare. I don't know, but I can see him having a big jump. Then Endrick will be added into the game this year, because the Brazilian league last year was not in the game because I don't think they had the rights. So this year he'll be in the game, which is fun. I can't imagine he'll have a super high rating, but after last weekend, he should.
Right, because it gets updated within the season too, right? Does it not?
Sometimes they used to do what they called like winter refreshes, where every time around like January, I think it was, I don't remember the exact time, but they'd adjust like after transfer windows and stuff. They'd adjust teams. They'd adjust ratings a little bit. But last year they didn't do that. They just did team adjustments. And I'm not even sure that they did that in the winter. They did that randomly like recently. Like Mbappe in game right now in FC24 has like a Real Madrid badge instead of PSG. So yeah, not sure. I think things are just different with the new umbrella. The new
So
title.
you play Ultimate Team. I just play seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one I had was 22. Although I'm planning to get 25, but 22 every time every opponent on seasons in 22 is PSG. Like it's like impossible if you play like at a certain level. So if you unless you choose a different class club, then that's different. But if I'm choosing Real Madrid, every single opponent is PSG. Like it's incredibly rare to get a different opponent. I mean, it's great to see no PSG players in the top 10 for once. Yeah. But I'm going to assume that in this version, everyone's going to pick Real Madrid, right? And it's going to be super annoying. Like, how do you stop Real Madrid in this game if you're playing against them?
That's the thing is that every year there's like a meta, you know?
Yeah.
But usually like the underlying meta is pace. And pace is just like last year was a little bit different. Different players that weren't previously usable are now usable because they introduced play styles. They introduced the whole thing. And now I'm going on an EA tangent, but like with Real Madrid's attack, like you said, how could you not? With Vinny and Mbappe alone, like their midfield should all be high rated now. Defensively, the same. I think Militao is probably still relatively low, which also I don't get it. But I think how can you not choose them?
Hopefully you have some inside info on this. What's the next meta?
Honestly, no one ever really knows until the game comes out.
Right.
And I think that it should probably be similar to something this year. And even then, I'm not the kind of player that can like dive into a game and be like, yeah, this is it. No, it's like the pros that typically find it and then they make like all those 10,000 YouTube videos about it or 10,000 reels or TikToks. And then that's when you know. Last year, they introduced play styles, which was a really, really cool addition because then, like I said, players that weren't previously usable and also women in the game. And so same thing, like the men and women's players had play styles. So for example, there's one called Anticipate Plus, which means that like some defenders would have like a little raccoon was the little logo. And if they had that, then they would like be able to anticipate, like body feints, be able to anticipate where the player's going and be able to like read more and go into tackles harder. So I think that was a big meta, like finesse, Trivella, Anticipate. Those were all big metas. So I think it should probably be something similar. And then I think pace is one of those things that every year is just, you have a pacey player, even if it's like a 80 rated gold player, you know what I mean? Against like a defense that has like if you have an 80 rated goal player with 95 pace against a defense that are all walkouts like 86 plus, but they have 82 pace, like 9 times out of 10 you're getting in behind and still will they be able to finish the chance? Maybe not, but you'll still be able to create more because of the pace. So I think no matter what, it's just no one will ever be using slow strikers or slow attackers in the game, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, the meta changes every year, it seems. And like in 22, because again, I'm outdated on this. That's why I'm going to upgrade to 25 because I want to be doing relevant stuff. But like, I mean, a lot of people still play 22. But in 22, you don't realize I didn't realize what the meta was until I got to a certain level. Like once you get to Div 2 and Div 1, you're like, oh, okay, now I'm no longer playing a game of video game soccer. I'm playing against like, okay, I just scored a goal. Now it's like DEFCON 1. I have to like defend the opening kick where Mbappe is going to run through 800 players on defense. So I'm like just trying to like prevent this thing from happening. You don't realize that this is like one of the weird flaws of the game that like if you score a goal, you're probably conceding one 10 seconds later because they're gonna like send Messi and Mbappe to just run through everybody and like there's nothing you can do. But I have found like the best players are the ones who know how to like defend one-on-one and like not switch off
1,000%.
the player. Yeah.
I'm a terrible defender. So bad. I'm so bad. I've gotten better in my years, but it's definitely the weakest part of my game is like I can score, I can create the chances, but then I concede 3 because I pull my defense. Like the number one thing that they tell you for defending is don't like pull your defenders out. Don't defend with your defenders. Right. Ironically, like use a DM to defend or like wait till the very last chance, like the very last minute, because the second you pull your defenders out, if someone's pacey, they're in behind, they can pass like right to them and boom, goal. So yeah, for 25, that's my goal is to be better at defending.
Are you top 100 in the world? Where do you
no.
500?
No, 0%.
1,000?
No, I doubt it. My average finish in weekend league, for those of you listening that knows what this means, and even you, this year out of 20, I'm a comfy 11, sometimes 14 if I'm lucky. Depends how much I feel like playing, because what happens typically is I leave my games until the last minute, and I start well, and then.
What does that mean? You leave your games until the last minute?
So typically, at the beginning of this cycle, you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to play champions, weekend league, foot champions, whatever.
Okay.
Recently, by recently, I mean like 4 months ago or 3 months ago, they extended it to Wednesday. So now you have Friday to Wednesday. But generally speaking, you have Friday to Sunday. And so I'll start Friday on stream. I'll play some games. I'll either start well or start poorly or whatever. Then Saturday, I'm like, oh, I don't want to play. I don't want to play foot champs. I don't. And then Sunday, I'm like, okay, I have to play my games because it closes. And then if you don't play, you don't qualify automatically for the next weekend. Or you don't get rewards or XYZ, you know? So then Sunday night comes and I'm like, God damn, I have to play, like whatever. And it's 1 a.m. and I've played, 8. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, I'll play till 11, Not because I can't get to 14.
No, of course not.
Of course not.
Of course not.
But no, 11 consistently, I think, is a comfy little spot for me.
Okay.
But definitely not, for sure. Diego, my husband, for sure at one point, he was top 100. He's a pro player, so now I have no excuse to be bad.
So what happens when you play against him? Like, what is it, a bloodbath, or is it like even? Like, what does it look like?
No, bloodbath for sure.
Okay.
And I'm not bad. Like, I'm not objectively a bad player. Like, I would say on average, people would say average, but in comparison to the casual player base, probably above average. But compared to them, like if I played him in a friendly, like, and he went like balls to the wall, 100%.
No mercy.
No mercy. I would be lucky to score. I think I would probably score 1 or 2 goals, but he would probably score minimum 15. Minimum. Yeah, probably more. Honestly, probably like 20, 25. Yeah. It's a different level. The thing about pros is they understand the game a way that no one else can understand. Like they understand not only the game and the controls and the things that you have, but they understand the mechanics and when to do things and how to do things and how to like not manipulate, but like how to get the most out of like whatever they're doing in the game. It's insane.
At that level, there's no like button mashing. Everything is methodical.
Yeah, at my level, there is button mashing. Yeah. Yep. So yeah.
So that's cool. I mean, I think I'm gonna get 25. Very interested to see, like, just kind of like play around with it and see where it goes. But yeah, just before we move on and talk about Real Madrid, because we're like 20 minutes in, we haven't really done that. The rankings are fine. Like if I'm gonna bring back the other one. Hold on a sec. Number 1. Hold on. So I would say, like, if you just took out Rodri from the top, it would the ranking would make sense. So like if it was just Mbappe, Holland, Vinny, top 3. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. Those are probably the 3 best players in the world on their day. And Jude.
Yeah.
Kane, I'm okay with because Kane had a great year.
Yeah.
Apart from England in the Euros, but from a club level, he was awesome. So I'm okay with that too. But the Ter Stegen one is weird. I'm fine with having Rodri top 10. I don't get why he's like basically number 1 in this ranking. But yeah.
And that's
I think the Ter Stegen one is the one that confuses me the most by far.
Yeah. It's just like, so like, even, I don't know, for me, it depends. It depends what their thought process is, because if it's based on season and success and form, then like Vinny, if this is accurate, got a plus 1, maybe 2. I don't remember if I think it was 89. He might have been 88. He might have been even an 86. I'll have to check, but whatever. He got an upgrade, which is fine. But then, like, if you're comparing Vinny's season to Harry Kane's season, like, you know, Harry Kane had a great season at Bayern. Yes, he I think broke a goal scoring record. Okay, but they didn't win anything. In fact, it was Bayern's worst season in like so many years. So I don't know. And then Holland, same thing. Like, Holland obviously didn't play in the Euros. Manchester City won the league because it's a farmers league at this point. Come for me, Premier League fans. I don't care.
I don't think there's a Premier League fans listening to this anyway, so you can feel free to just go crazy and trash them all.
But like, because De Bruyne was injured for most of the season, Holland's form decreased significantly, which I called, by the way. I said that, watch, like, Holland is a player. He's like a target man. He's an elite finisher, but like, he's not Benzema. You know what I mean? He's not creating these chances usually. And sure enough, when his main source of service was injured for like half the season, he scored. I mean, he still like scored a lot of goals in the Premier League for Manchester City last season. But in comparison to what Erling Haaland is capable of, he was much worse last season than he was the season before. And I'm sure part of that is due to not having the service that he had. So in my opinion, I think he's the same. I don't think he went up or down, but maybe he went up by 1. But that, like, I don't, you know what I mean? For me, Vinny should be higher if it's season by season. I think that the top 3 in the world, probably, yes, along with Jude. But like, even with the Ballon, like, anyways, I could go on about this forever. With the Ballon d'Or rankings, like, Holland's not really in the top, for sure in the top 4 of conversation, or even in the top 5. Everything that I've seen with like power rankings, he's not there. So like, because he didn't have like a standout insane season, he just had a season, you know. And same with Rodri. Like, I know that Rodri is, I'm not going to say he's similar to what Kroos was for us, but I think that he is a lot of that, like, cement, like that glue in that team. But he won the Euro. Yeah, cool. But again, he wasn't like, no, he was good, but he didn't have this insane, like, standout incredible season. Wow, Manchester City won the treble and XY, you know, like, I don't know. I listen, before I say what I'm going to say, I just want everyone listening to know that when you use the word overrated, that doesn't mean that they're bad. Same with Foden. I said this before about Foden. When he, like, a couple of years ago, when everyone was like, oh my God, even now, dare I say it, I think there's like some level of overrated for the both of them. They're just, I think it's like Manchester City fans out of nowhere are just doing this. They're so loud for, you know, what reason, we're not sure.
Most of them will just disappear off the face of the earth once the money is pulled away from that team, if it gets pulled away.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, yes, Rodri is one of the best in his position in the world, if not maybe the best at the moment. There's a few other contenders, but he's up there for sure. Foden, I think, probably is not the best in the world in his position. Does he have incredible potential, and is he incredibly good? Like, is he very talented for his age and whatever? Yes. But then we saw like a different Foden in the Euros. I don't know. I just think that like English fans are very interesting with their players. Like this stupid Saka Rodrigo debate. Don't get me started on that unless it's one of your topics. But
I just added it to our list of topics. I just added it. Well, look, I actually think it's possible to be both overrated and underrated at the same time, because it really depends on who you're speaking to. Are you speaking to a Manchester City radical fan, or are you speaking to, someone who never watches Rodri play and doesn't know how good he is? I guess it really depends on who you're speaking to. I think, just to be clear, I like with Rodri in the Euros, I don't think it's controversial to say he wasn't even Spain's best midfielder. Like that goes to Fabian, who was amazing.
For sure.
And Spain had a lot of game changers in that team. At the club level, I thought Rodri was incredible. And I got a chance to see him up close at that game in the Etihad, and just watching his games, I was so impressed with just how many different things he can do on the field. Like, he's not just a DM; he can actually crash the box. He can like string things together, like high up the pitch, like as a creator. Like, he's very impressive, and physically, he's very imposing.
Yeah.
But I also think that having him as the highest rated player in a video game is absurd, because that at that level you're talking about, okay, a world-class DM versus the best player in the world, like Vinicius Jr. Like that, that doesn't add up to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he deserves his flowers where his flowers are due. But like, even Spain, people are like, oh my God, Rodri wasn't even in Ballon d'Or shouts before the Euros, and now he's in Ballon d'Or shouts for his performance in the Euros. Again, he was good for Spain. He scored in the Euro, whatever.
I think part of it is that they have to find someone to compete with the Real Madrid contingent.
Yeah, I just think the other Spanish league players or non-English league players.
People will just push things randomly. It's weird. Like, I couldn't believe that Barca fans were claiming the Spain Euro 2024 trophy when they had one player in the starting 11 in the final.
Yeah. Do you want to know what else I saw the other day? Is that people now, Manchester City fans, are saying that their squad now is better than Barcelona 2009.
Yeah, it's just unbelievably untrue. Yeah.
Insane. But I digress.
I felt like I was curious to check where Vinny was in 2022 in the rankings, and he was the 470th highest ranked player in FIFA 2022.
What was his overall?
80.
Does it say? Yeah, insane, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy to see how long he's, because this game would have been made even before the 2022 Champions League run, obviously.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's jumped, and even in 22, he's really fun to play with. But I feel like now he would just be ridiculous in the game.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, I think even his shooting, his everything has really increased from the last time.
Yeah.
But anyway.
First FIFA without Toni Kroos in God knows how long.
It's really sad. It's very sad. Listen, his card's not really usable per se in the game. So
what does that mean?
Like, for whatever reason, and everyone that's listening that plays FC will know that he's had like anywhere between like 35 pace and like 60 pace. And it's the same concept. Like, you just can't use a midfielder that's slow, So unless he has a huge, like, crazy promo item, which he did this year, he had a couple that were really, really good. But his gold card is just like not usable. You know what I mean? Like, if he was in the squad even this year, like, and I played someone in seasons or friendlies or whatever, or kickoff, and I was Real Madrid, like, I would have to change him for someone else in the squad with more pace.
That's unacceptable. That's where like FIFA needs to have like an intervention and be like, hey, just figure this out. Like this is the I actually cursed the game the other day because I was playing it online, and Kroos had the ball, and like I pressed pass, and it just went to an opponent. I'm like, guys, get your shit together. Like this should be if Kroos
99
has the ball, if Kroos has the ball, I shouldn't have to aim the pass. It should just automatically just be. It should just automatically slice open the defense, like without even looking. I should like face the back of the TV, and it should be an assist. Like FIFA needs to figure that out. Well, it's too late now.
Yeah.
But if they bring back the icon card, does he already have one?
No, he won't this year. He probably won't for maybe even next year. The year after he should. But
So when they bring that back, they just need to make it so that he's playable.
They've been doing something different though. Like they have before we had like base icons, mid icons, and prime icons. And now they're doing like different icons for every single promo. So there could be a promo where he has it's crazy. It's crazy because Kroos like he's not like insanely rapid, you know, he's not Fede, but he's not slow. Like he was never slow. So yeah, but I'm sad. That's a sad one.
Yeah, it's I don't think I'll really come to terms with it at all this year. You know, it's sad that he's not part of this. Let's talk about Real Madrid. Quick shout out to our new YouTube member, Levan Al-Shabi. Welcome to the family, Levan. Excited to have you in here. Leah, impression from the first 3 games. We can start wherever you want. It can be pre-Atalanta, post-Atalanta, Mallorca, Valladolid, wherever you want to start.
Well, listen, I'm going to be honest. When we played Mallorca, I was in Saudi and I was on stage. So I had a phone like this backstage. I went on, blah, blah, blah. I came off and did this. So I wish I was watching as intently as I should have been.
Just to clarify, when you're on stage, you're doing what? You're commentating at that point?
In Saudi, I was interviewing. So I was like a reporter interviewer.
For the FIFA players or the EA players?
After wins or losses, or like giving recaps of, because there's different, obviously, round, like in the group stages, there's different rounds. Same with the quarterfinals. In this case, there was best of 1. So just doing like an overall recap. So I was on and off stage, but listen, I saw something on Twitter, and I think this is just every single Madridista can relate. And it's the story of our lives, but it's this clip that I saw that is like, oh my gosh, yay, Real Madrid plays today. And then it's like, oh my God, I hate my life. I hate everything.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, why am I here? What am I doing? And then it's like, yay, we won.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of
meme.
been like the story, to be honest, for the last 3 matches. Whatever, like Jude, I think Jude is actually a really big loss. Well, for starters, I think Kroos is like a huge loss. And I don't think, I mean, everyone knew that it would be a big loss, but I don't think even the players necessarily like knew how like incredibly important. Casemiro said it once in an interview where he said like, sorry if you can hear that. There's like some big jet plane that's
you're good. You can barely hear it. Yeah.
Okay. But Casemiro said that like Kroos is the tempo, like he dictates what happens. And I think without that, there's a lot less like midfield representation. There's a word that I'm looking for. It's not coming to my head. But I just think there's a lot, like there was even sometimes a ridiculous space between our defenders and our midfielders. And like, I just don't think, I mean, obviously Camavinga is a big loss. He's one of the more creative ones, and Jude as well. So I think without all of them, especially last weekend against Valladolid, I think it was just kind of like no one, like especially the midfield, didn't really know how to like make progressions with the ball, you know? And I think it takes time, of course. Like we've lost players, we've added players. I know that same with Mbappe, like he had the game that he scored, sorry, I'm holding a Squirtle, and this is really awkward because I put it in frame by accident. Sorry.
Just
But
it just looks super comfortable. Like
it is. It really is. It's really cute too. This is from Primark. It was like $4, £4.
I have gotten
Anyway.
the kids some very good deals from Primark. It's a good
I
good
love
spot.
Primark. I really wish we had a Primark here or in Canada or anywhere.
We have it in Canada.
Primark?
Yes.
What?
I like relatively new, but yeah, we have it.
Where?
We have it in. Well, now you're making me search Primark Canada, which is not what I expected to do on this podcast. But
Yeah, guys. I delayed it for a week and then we're here.
Well, I don't know exactly where, but like there's one in Halifax. I literally saw it in Halifax.
Wow.
Yeah,
Halifax of all places. That's
of all
crazy.
places. Which I
Actually,
just assume if there's one in Halifax, there's a bunch, but I don't know.
that makes
Yeah.
sense though, because you're really close to Europe. So
That's true.
maybe it's like one of those things. Yeah, so the game where Jude and Mbappe linked up really well, for Mbappe to score that goal, I think that was the Super Cup, but I don't know. I think there's just like some knots. There's some knots in the woodwork that need to be worked out a little bit. But then I think
Leah, can I interject?
Yes, please, because
I mixed up Primark with Decathlon. There is no Primark in Canada.
Those are two very different things.
I know, but Decathlon's like a Spanish store. So when I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, we have Decathlon now." But
Like,
yeah,
what is this doing here?
yeah. So totally different places. Yeah, I would love to have a Primark in Canada.
There's a Primark in Canada. It's crazy.
Yeah. Sorry, continue.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I just think for sure, at least until the injuries are healed, one of Brahim, Arda, someone more creative. I even think Arda, like, dare I say it, on the right, he was more effective last season. Again, maybe because he had more creativity in the midfield previously, like last year. So it was easy for him to make runs and cut in because he like had space and Toni Kroos was able to break lines and with his passes. But yeah, I just think it's not quite there yet, but it will be. So I'm not stressed. But
I mean, I think not to like cry out like that we're some kind of victims but the reality is like we haven't had Kroos, Bellingham, and Camavinga. Like, so you have to accept that there's going to be some growing pains with, not only not having Kroos, but now not having Camavinga and Bellingham for an extended period. Like,
yeah,
it was already going to be a tough transition without Kroos, and it's just like we're going to have to get through it. And like, look, that's the reality. That's the nature of the beast. There's going to be injuries. Barca just lost one of their young players due to an ACL injury. We lost Jean Martinez to an ACL injury. Like, everyone's dealing with injuries. It's going to be tough. But the reality is we don't have Bellingham, Kroos, and Camavinga right now, and so your buildup is going to suffer.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to know like what Ancelotti's ultimate solution is, but I probably more Modric, probably let Goulet settle a little bit. I think that's going to help as well. And in the meantime, we have squad depth for this reason. But yeah, like it's going to be hard post-Kroos, especially when you don't have Bellingham and Camavinga on the team right now. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
What about your thoughts on just the overall squad this season compared to last season? Because there are people who are kind of murmuring like maybe the squad isn't as good as last year because we lost Kroos and Nacho, even though we gained Mbappe and Endrick. Where do you think we are with that?
I knew that Kroos would be like a really significant loss. I did definitely think, again, within reason, because it's been 2 league games of the season. You know what I mean? Like, we played 2 games, so everyone needs to chill. But I do think that his impact was even greater than what us as fans especially realized. Like, we knew what Toni Kroos added to the squad, and we knew how he dictated the tempo, but there was so much that he did off the ball as well that just like went under the radar, that I think is like extremely hard to replace, if replaceable at all. So what I think needs to happen is there needs to be some like formation change or some just like tactical changes from Ancelotti to utilize. Ancelotti is one of the best, if not the best in the world at utilizing players to their talents, like to their skills, or to their assets. So I'm not concerned about that. My more concern about the squad is defensively, because if we lose a defender, it's Jesus Vallejo. So great. Same with Carvajal. Like we've not really, like we know Carvajal debatably had a better season last year than he did in 2016. Listen, there I said it. For his age, for his
that's
like,
not controversial at all. I mean, I Carvajal to me like aged very similar to Cruz in that it just seemed like they got better every year. I think Carvajal, arguably his best season ever was last year.
I think so too. Especially given that like the season before he was injured for most of it. He was, in and out of the squad. He wasn't consistent. Everyone kind of had, even us, like as fans, had kind of written him off, saying like we need a replacement ASAP because like he's getting old, this, that. And then he came back. He was like, what did you say? Let me just not eat gluten real quick. And then boom. So I think that if he continues that form, amazing. The reality of it is that he's my age, okay? Listen, we're not old, but he's getting older, and there will eventually be like a natural decline or an injury. And like it's the same situation where like we have Cafúquez Vázquez, we have Fede that can drop, we have these options, but like we're going to need to start doing what we did with our midfield pretty soon to be able to like seamlessly, kind of start rotating and getting a new right back for when it is time. But center halves is like where the problem area is, in my opinion. I think that like Alaba's almost back. Militao is back and almost back to his form, which is great. I don't know. You guys remember his like Ronaldinho-esque run between like 4 players last weekend, but and Rudiger I think too is at his best. I think he's probably one of the best, if not the best, like center half in football at the moment. But yeah, all it takes is another injury. Like Militao's ACL could have a complication and he could be injured again, and then we're down to Jesus Vallejo, like, or Tchouaméni. And then that's when it starts impacting like the midfield, because then if, for example, Camavinga's not back in time, yeah, he's also insane. I respect. Listen, I was a Lucas Vázquez hater a few years ago.
Hater is harsh. Maybe like apathetic to a certain degree.
Yeah, not a hater, but I was just like, oh, this guy. And then 2 years ago, I think it was, or maybe 3, I don't remember. No, it was 2 years ago when Carvajal was injured and he like stepped up and filled in as right back for almost the entire season. I had a newfound appreciation for him. And then, yeah, he's like a Nacho where he just like bleeds Real Madrid. He's understands his role and he's happy with it. He doesn't push for more. He just wants to do what he can for the team. And I respect that in a player. He's old also though, like not old, but he's a lot older than people think he is. And it's the same thing. Like our squad is aging and we've replaced a lot of it with young players, but yeah.
Except for the defensive line. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that'll be the issue because it's bound to happen, even if just a knock for like a week or 2. If we have another midfield injury, if Camavinga, for example, is still out, let's say Rudiger or Militao, knock on wood, get injured for just even a small one, 2-3 weeks, whatever, 3 match days, 4 match days, whatever it is. But then Tchouaméni has to drop and Camavinga's injured, then what? Fede, I guess, plays in that DM role. Or they use a Castilla player. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love that our team is versatile in the sense that Tchouaméni can play You know, he can play as a CM, he can play as a DM, he can play as a center back, and he's good as a center back. I love that Camavinga can do everything. He can be every position. He can be goalkeeper. He can be my kitchen sink if he wants to be. You know what I mean? But like, there comes a point too where if there gets too much, if there's too much like mucking about, then like, you know, especially with injuries. So anyway, to end my long rant, I think for sure we have like, there's not a doubt in my mind. I'm shocked that we haven't signed like a backup defender, especially after Nacho leaving. But I think we have to, like, without a doubt, in the winter.
So I just wanted to say first and foremost that seeing the Vasquez juggling the ball thing at the Etihad Live was one of I'm so thankful because I literally witnessed one of the greatest sporting moments of all time. It was like up there, like being in the presence of Michael Jordan's last shot in Utah in '98. He just
I don't get it.
You remember how nervous you were during that penalty shootout?
Yeah. Yes, I do. And him never for any penalty. Do you remember against Atletico Madrid when he's spinning the ball on his finger before he takes the first penalty? Insane.
Yeah, it was like I was sitting there and I was shaking. I was so nervous. And like I don't like get that nervous anymore unless it's like a really high stakes game. But that was about as pressure popping as I remember Real Madrid being in a situation ever. And just that, like the stadium, like the fact that Modric missed the first penalty, the fact that Vinny wasn't on the field, Kroos wasn't on the field, take a penalty, like the rest of the people were defenders. And then Vasquez just pops up, like he must have, like we got Ronaldo's heart rate in the Euros. I wish we had Vasquez's, man. It was probably like, was his heart even beating? Like it was probably just like slower than
light work for him. It's insane. Whatever he has with penalties, it's insane. It's every time. It's crazy. But yeah, I think that defensively we're struggling. We could be in a very, very like, you know, bad position if we get even one injury. Offensively, I think like Joselu is irreplaceable, of course, but I think we've replaced him, generally speaking, with Endrick. We have Brahim, we have Vinny, we have Rodrigo, we have Arda that can play up top or like out on the right. I think there just needs to be some cohesion that happens over the next few games with them. Was it against Mallorca, where they were playing like 95% of their plays through the left. And so I think that like something needs to happen there. Even Brahim, like, I don't know. I don't know if this is a hot take. I would eat and sleep and die for Rodrigo. I am like a huge Rodrigo fan, and I think he deserves he's underrated. Like, he's incredible. But this kind of happens every year where he starts out a little bit slow. And then it's like first Champions League game group stage that we have. It's like, boom, Rodrigo's back, you know?
It's partly because he's a clutch player and he saves a lot of his good stuff for like the Champions League when it matters.
Yeah. I think though that given the fact that Mbappe is more of a left-sided player, like he's starting up top, but he and Vinny are kind of intertwining, they're being able to free roam a little bit. We know that Rodrigo is so much more effective on the left, like that's been seen and proven. I think he can be extremely effective on the right, but I think there should be a little more. Maybe what I'm saying is what I'd like to see is a little bit more rotation between Brahim and Rodrigo, especially now at the beginning of the season when like we'd like to not be losing. Because I think that until he finds that form, like Brahim can offer, but then Brahim as a super sub, I don't know. It's a hard toss up because I love Rodrigo. I want to see him succeed. I think that he links up really well with Vinny. You know, I was going to say like no one can really compare to his like on the ball movement and the way that he is able to like break lines and dribble through entire teams. But Brahim can also do that. And I think Brahim is another really underrated player. I'm not saying I want to see Brahim start over Rodrigo, but I think Rodrigo might need a little bit of competition to find his form because, I mean, to be fair, he did score against Mallorca. Yeah, right?
Yep.
Or no, against Mallorca.
Mallorca.
I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm thinking at the moment, but all I know is there just needs to be some kind of something up top, some kind of cohesion. I don't think it should take very long. We have some of the best players in the world, but those are my thoughts.
So you'd get along with my dad. My dad is like number one Brahim. He's like during every game, he's like, why isn't Brahim playing? Why isn't Brahim playing? Last game, like at halftime, he texted me. He's like, Brahim will change this game. And then Brahim came in and he scored. And he was like, told you, Brahim. Like, he's just on the Brahim. Like, we need more Brahim, more Brahim. The guy's like, and like, he articulates this to me in Persian because we speak Persian in the house. We don't speak English. But so it's hard to like translate what he says. But his whole thing is like the energy he brings is like you immediately notice him when he's on the field.
Yeah.
He's not shy at all. Like he will, just be ready anytime you call on him. And I think that's correct. Like every time he plays, he does something great. And you even think back to like even when he starts, like that game against Leipzig. I don't know if we would have survived that Leipzig game without his golazo. So I don't think it's a hot take to say Brahim should start. I think we're at a situation right now where like there are 2 guaranteed starters in Vinny and Mbappe in attack, and then Bellingham wherever he plays as a guaranteed starter if he's healthy. Fede wherever he plays as a guaranteed starter. And I think beyond that, Ancelotti is just trying to find the best fit, alongside those players, right? And I actually think for that reason, Goulet actually has a shot too, because he's a little bit different than Brahim and Rodrigo, who are both kind of similar to Vinny and Mbappe in that they're both line-breaking dribblers. So Goulet has a different look to him that might work to kind of contrast and complement them a little bit. It'll be interesting to see where Carlo lands. And, the thing is, like, this conversation would be a little bit easier if Brahim and Goulet and Endrick, like, weren't playing well. But every time they come in, they're proving themselves. Like they're playing well every time they're called upon. So, which is great. All this competition is great.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I wanted to go back to something you said earlier about the defense. And you and I both laughed when we said this would be a 40-minute podcast, but we're at 1 hour now. But maybe one final thing.
Okay.
You made the point about like the injuries to the defensive line and all that. And what would happen if like Militao or Rudiger got injured. And God forbid, like they would both get injured at some point. But
not going.
Like, everyone would say, well, that's okay. Not everyone. Some people would say Tchouaméni would just go play center back and he's great at it. And then that frees up a role for Camavinga. Well, like, look, like Camavinga's out now for like, total 2 months. So now you don't even have Camavinga to replace Tchouaméni if he goes back there.
Yeah.
And so these are the problems you run into with not having enough depth in the defensive line. And look, that's like how Real Madrid operate. Like we either get the guy we want or we're not going to force a signing. And that worked for us last season. And let's hope it works for us this season.
Yeah.
That's all.
I think it's tough because I think it's extreme. The same kind of as I said before, it's extremely helpful. And I think the difference between great footballers and world-class footballers are their ability to be versatile. Like, I think that I had this opinion with Foden and Jude in the Euros. Like, Foden had to play on the left. It was a whole thing. Foden had to play on the left. Jude was playing in the middle, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And like Foden wasn't that effective because he wasn't playing as a 10. He wasn't playing blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? But like as an attacker, you should just have attacking tendencies. Like obviously you have a preferred position, but like as a world-class player, you should be able to kind of move about that front three and be at least comfortable. Like at least be able to still take on defenders, still like, you know, and for me, it's not the first time that Foden had played on the left either. You know, like for Manchester City for a long time, he was playing out left in FC25 or like in previous FIFAs, he was a left wing, you know, like, so for me, that's the difference is that like, he's still an attacker. Like he still should have those fundamental like attacking tendencies. And that's the difference for me. And it's the thing for us is like, I think that it's amazing that so many of our players are so versatile. Fede can play just about everywhere. Camavinga can play just about everywhere. Lucas Vasquez can. Tchouaméni can. You know, like even Militao. Like at one point with Porto, he was a right back. So I think that's great. But at what cost and to what point? You know, like I think Lucas Vasquez coming in and playing right back for the entire season when Carvajal was injured is different because he wasn't starting. Like he's not a starter and he was starting at right back. He got better in that position. Great. But this is like a 2-point statement because it's not sustainable for the whole season is basically what I'm trying to say. Like you put, if God forbid we have another ACL injury defensively, who like Tchouaméni's playing center back for the whole season? Like, and then what? And then if we have an injury in midfield, then what? You know, like it's just, there needs to, I think it's really good to have versatility to a point. And it's kind of the same thing that's happened with Rodrigo in his development at Real Madrid. I think that like, unfortunately he came a year after Vinicius. I think if he had come before, he would have flourished in that role. And like, he would have been a different player. Like if Rodrigo had come before Vinny had come to Real Madrid, you know, but I think Rodrigo hasn't been able to like fully solidify himself in that starting role since he's been at Real Madrid. Like last year, he probably had his most consistent like cycle as in the starting 11, but he was rotated so much between even last season between right wing. He played like centrally as like a 10. He played on the left when Vinny was injured or when Vinny didn't start. Like, I don't think that's I think it's good for a player to have that versatility, but I don't think that's sustainable long term, especially when you're trying to like develop as a player or develop some cohesiveness as a team. Because if things are always changing, then like it's really hard to find that rhythm again, you know? Like it takes time for those things to happen. Like if, for example, if Tchouaméni had to play center back for the entire season and then Camavinga played as a DM, but then whoever was injured defensively came back and Tchouaméni moved up, then Camavinga is now either A, on the bench, and now Tchouaméni's playing behind two other midfielders, and that just changes things because their play styles are just different. You know what I mean? So, like, I just don't think that mindset of like, oh, well, we have a right back. Like if Carvajal gets injured, Lucas Vasquez can play, you know? Cool. Yeah. For a few games, that's amazing. Like for a couple weeks, a month even. But long term, because then, you know, what happens if Lucas Vasquez gets injured? What happens if, I think we're pretty good for right wings at the moment, but it's a bad example. But like, what if we have a right wing that gets injured? What if we have a left winger that gets it? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think it's good to have the versatility up to a point, or to use the versatility as a manager up until a point. And I think we're beyond that point now defensively. Like, I think we just need to sign, even just like call people up from Castilla, give them 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and have them be in the first squad for the season to get the experience to, like, if they don't want to buy anyone, then at least give someone from Castilla the chance to develop and like find that comfort in the first team, you know? Anyways, I digress.
No, I mean, look, there's a lot of good points. I mean, you just run risks by doing it this way, right? And look, everything is a risk. You know, you could sign someone and they could be a risk, especially if it's like a long-term contract, someone you don't really want, you're committed to. That's why like getting like a 1 year rental of like Joselu was like perfect, you know, experience, low risk, someone in the squad, happy with his place. But like last year, like 2 years ago, basically every year that we didn't sign a backup striker behind Benzema, it was a risk, right?
Yeah.
And in most cases, like we were fine. But then that 1 year must have been 22-23 season where he got injured. Then, you know, we fell apart basically. Our offense fell apart. And then last year, we didn't replace Benzema, and Bellingham just turned into Cristiano Ronaldo for like 3 months, and you just couldn't stop scoring. So we were very fortunate that that happened. This year, you know, we just look. I think a lot of this will come down to how good is Alaba when he returns and when does he return. Because if Alaba comes back looking great and he comes back early, well, that's a game changer for us completely, right? Then you some of these worries go away because if he's just ready, then that's great. But I'm skeptical. Like, and he was on the pitch running today. That was something that was an improvement. But he's still far away from being able to play full contact training, let alone playing full contact games. And we saw, as good as Militao has been this year, we saw how difficult it was for him when he came back last season.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm skeptical of the Alaba thing.
Yeah.
Best case scenario is he like comes back in, I don't know, November, December, and he takes a few games to get back to it. And then by January 1st, he's ready to go. And all of a sudden we have 3 real center backs plus Vallejo. I feel bad for Vallejo. Like we just ignored that he exists, but yeah, he's there too.
Wait, you cut out. I didn't hear what you said.
At what point did I cut out? I don't know what I said either.
You said I feel bad for Vallejo.
I feel bad for Vallejo because we just forget he exists every time we're talking about the center backs in the squad. Like, yeah, we have Militao and Rudiger, and then
Wait,
Tchouameni.
pull up the picture. Do you have the picture handy?
The goated one?
Yeah. You mean this guy? This Jesus Vallejo? Oh my gosh.
I'm bringing it up. I feel like we should revisit this picture once a year.
Yeah, facts. It's epic. It's iconic. The thing about Vallejo, listen, this is the thing. I have this opinion about Mariano Diaz as well. I don't think they're bad. Yeah. This guy. I don't think they're bad players. Like, I think there's a reason why they were scouted and signed to Real Madrid. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously they saw something in these players, and the scouts for Real Madrid know a little bit more than we do sitting at home as fans, you know, no matter how much we think we know about football. I just think that unfortunately, especially in like Mariano Diaz's case, I think that it's just minutes, unfortunately. Like, you don't improve, you don't get game experience or like match experience without minutes, and you don't get minutes without form. So it's kind of like a catch-22, you know what I mean? It's like a vicious cycle. And so for both of them, I think like if we were desperate, for example, this year and he had to play, I think eventually, of course, he would improve and he would find his rhythm. And it's the same with Mariano Diaz. Like, he showed so much potential in the sense of like, the dude was like Fede. He like never stopped running. He never stopped pushing. He never stopped attacking. He was always in the box. He always like to the point where sometimes it was like funny, where like he would throw his head or throw his body into like
zero fear of like what bones would break. Like, would his head fall off? Like, he just went in.
And I think that if he just really had more time and like a manager like Ancelotti to really like hone in on his skills, I think he would have, like, I think Mariano Diaz still could go and start for like a mid-table, bottom table team easily, and do really well. And I think the same with Vallejo. I think obviously there's a level that he's not at, but I think that if for whatever reason, God forbid, knock on wood, we were desperate, like, I think eventually he would step up. It's just then at that point, how long would it take him to step up, and how much you know, how much of the season would we throw away waiting for the step up, you know?
Just to go back to the Jesus Vallejo potential thing, I remember like this would have been, I think, 2017, if I'm not mistaken. If you had told me like he'd be here now, like at this level, I'd be disappointed and surprised. I thought he was going to be like just a great, great defender. Like, I mean, like starting level for Real Madrid for years to come. That's how much I believed in him at the time. And I had really high hopes for that entire under 17 Spanish team. It was him, Asensio, Marcos Llorente, Dani Ceballos. I think Borja Mayoral was part of that too. Can't remember who else. All of those guys were like dominating at that level. And, you know, I don't know, like apart from Asensio, and he kind of faded too a little bit, they didn't really amount to that. In Vallejo's case, like I was really surprised because Vallejo was the captain of Zaragoza at the age of 18. Very mature beyond his years. Went to Eintracht Frankfurt, was one of the league's best defenders in the Bundesliga at a young age. Then after that, it just kind of went downhill. It was a combination of injuries, and I think he struggled with stuff mentally. And so, you know, it's kind of sad. He's a very likable guy too. Very, very like just nice guy. And it's kind of sad. That's all. I mean, I had high hopes for him.
I think it sucks for them because when they both came to Real Madrid, like you said, Vallejo was at the top of his game. He was young. Same with Mariano. Mariano had come off of a really good season. Same with Luka Jovic. You know what I mean? It's the same situation. Luka Jovic is different, and I'll explain in a second. But I think then after, unfortunately, once you kind of like flop, even as a super... Listen, Mariano Diaz scored some very important goals for us, okay, in the Champions League, and I'll always remember that, and I like him for that. But once you have like a poor season at Real Madrid and then you go to another club, then it's really hard to start like finding your form again. You know what I mean? You come off of a poor season, you get signed to another club as maybe like a fringe player or whatever, with expecting that role based on your performance at the club that you were at before. And unless you, again, get the minutes, it's like the same cycle over and over and over again. You know what I mean? So I think for them, unfortunately, when they left Real Madrid, it was just like hard to regain that, especially they're not going to be like, for example, where did Viejo go? Granada?
He did. It was Frankfurt, then he was back, and then he went to Granada, I think was the next stop.
And I think that like when you're like the scouts aren't saying, wow, Jesus Vallejo plays 0 minutes. He plays 4 minutes a year for Real Madrid. He's our starting center back. Like, obviously not. You know what I mean? The club is signing them to be backup players or to be fringe players at that point. And it's up to them to then like fight for that spot. But it's the same cycle that I was saying. It's hard to when you're not getting the minutes because you're signed as a fringe player and you're signed to play that role. Luka Jovic, though, is different because and I think this is two opinions that I have. Number one, he came from Frankfurt from a system where he played in a two-striker system. You know, he was an elite goal scorer, but he was partnered with Sebastian Haller up front at Frankfurt. And like both of them were like banging goals in left, right, and center, like playing off of each other up front. And I think going from that kind of system to a single striker system, and not even a single striker system, a system where we have like more of a center forward and not a target man, or not, you know, we play more of like a 9 center forward than like a striker. I think that was probably just a poor signing in general because I don't love. It's the same as Chelsea, for example. They just sign players. Like, they just sign names. Oh, one time 3 years ago, they had, like, a really good season. Let me just sign them. And there's no concept for, like, system. There's no concept of cohesion. There's no concept of who will play well together. Like, look at Newcastle. Newcastle, for me, is a perfect indication, like a perfect example of how to sign players for a system. Like, Isak he's not this like huge big name superstar, and Newcastle has money now. Like, they could go and sign a huge big name superstar, but instead they scout players appropriately and find players that work for their system. So for me, with all that said, I don't think Jovic just was an appropriate signing for Real Madrid. I just don't think his play style suited the play style of Real Madrid. Again, I'm not a scout. I don't work for Real Madrid, but from observation, there's no coincidence to me that both Luka Jovic and Sebastian Haller went to, I think, West Ham and Real Madrid, and both had stinkers, both of them. So I digress.
The summer of 2019, I think part of the reason why we had the two worst signings in club history in Hazard and Jovic, we were coming out of a season, I think, where we were desperate. And it was the year where Ajax eliminated us in the round of 16. Everyone dipped after the World Cup.
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo was gone. A year before that, and things were, and I think there was a sign of like, okay, we need to just get some players, and it didn't pan out. I also just remember that Vallejo did have a disastrous stint at Wolves, which I think is actually an important kind of footnote, because after that he wasn't the same, and I wonder if that has to do with a bit of his mentality, because I don't think he ever recovered from that. Because that Wolves stint was truly, truly disastrous. Like, it was a short one, and he was just in every highlight reel for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Just getting cooked. Yeah.
Poor guy. I saw something somewhere. I don't know. I heard a rumor of Cuti Romero to Real Madrid in the future, like in the coming years. And that is a signing I can get behind. I think that would be really good. Listen, I love Alaba. And before Alaba got injured, I was like team Alaba. I just think he's so underrated, despite not being super fast, like despite not quite having the pace that maybe he once had, and transitioning from left back to center back. I think that his leadership in that back line, his ability to distribute from the back, his like ball carrying ability from being a left back, like I just think he was incredible. I'm not sure now, especially given that his injury is longer than, it's hard at that age to kind of jump right back in to route. He'll never be a starter again. I think that now Militao and Rudiger have fully solidified that. There's no question, but I don't know. Like, it's the same thing. He's also getting old. He's coming off of like a very serious injury that's had complications. So there might be more. I think that if he can get back to full fitness, amazing. Like, he'll be great as, and I think it's, again, a catch-22. I think he's kind of probably in the mindset now that he doesn't expect at this point to be a starter for Real Madrid. Like, he is likely happy with his role, just wants to play probably after being injured for like almost, by the time he comes back, almost 2 years. But to recover at that age to that level, I don't know. I don't know if he'll just be as reliable as he would have been pre-injury. A lot of people can bounce back from ACLs. Militao so far has done a great job. But like Asensio is an example of someone that like came back, still scored bangers, but was not the same Asensio as he was pre-injury, Right. So attackers and defenders are obviously different, but I don't know. And for that reason, I think that like maybe we can rely on him for some time, but we need someone. We need something, whether it's academy, whether it's someone.
We don't need Alaba to be necessarily like displacing starters, but if you can come back and like just be reliable squad depth, I think that'd be huge. Yeah. We really like, to me, like we need another Nacho. I don't know who the next Nacho is. We need another Nacho.
Agreed.
Like Nacho's such a big loss. Such a big loss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Quick super chat from Sagnick who says Jean Martinez and Jacoba as future starting center backs. I totally see Jean Martinez. I mean, he's only 16. I'm hoping and praying and optimistic that he'll bounce back from the ACL. He has a lot of time left. Jacoba is another one who might actually get minutes this season, depending on the situation. Very impressive during preseason as well. Next time we should go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it would be a good time to use younger players and give them experience.
Yeah, especially like if there's like these scenarios where we're up like 3 goals in the second half, those could be opportunities as well. I was going to say next time we should plan for like a 24-hour stream and see if it would go like 48 hours and see what would happen. You and I are due for just once I get the FC25, we should do I just want to play against you and see if I could keep it within like 10 goals and I want to stream it.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it. Well, the game comes out in a few weeks, so the next thing we do, we can start or finish with
on it in a few weeks. Definitely getting it. Leah, thank you so much for hopping on. It's always a pleasure having you on the show. You are well beloved. Everyone likes you. Everyone is counting down days until you come on the podcast next time. And
guys, so nice.
Hopefully, we'll figure something out off there. We'll definitely have you on. And also, what's next? Saudi, Spain.
I don't know. Travel, nothing. Ottawa.
Okay.
Boring. But the game comes out. So FC25, which means that my work season really kicks off. So that is next for me. The competitive season starts again shortly after the game comes out. So summer is generally the slower time. So things should just start getting busier.
Yeah,
hopefully.
For sure. For everybody. Yeah, it's about to get crazy. Yeah. Awesome. Leah, thanks so much for joining the show. It was a pleasure having you on, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.
See ya.